everybody, it's Jeff here once again with our Entrepreneur Essentials show, and I have my friend Grace here. She's got some really cool news today, and she is an amazing branding specialist, and she just got recognized for this. So this is going to be a fun day to talk a little bit about that. You know, once again, these shows are about entrepreneurs and people's stories and journeys that they've gone on and what they've done to create businesses from what they had done before. So Grace, tell us a little bit about what's going on with you.
Thank you so much for having me today.
You're
it's
welcome.
Super fun. You and I have been in the Cedar Park entrepreneurial community for some time, and I love being in the room here. So thank you so much.
Thanks for coming. Tell us a little bit about your journey.
Yeah, so I don't even know that we've had a chance to talk about this. My background, believe it or not, is biomedical electrical engineering. Got involved trying to connect computers with usability. Really, very early on. Made my way to Austin, which was a journey I landed in '99. So it's all right. I'm not from Texas. Texas loves me anyway. And the company that recruited me to come here, it was my first software company. And I was going to be, or I was, the VP of Professional Services and Sales. We were in the Omni building downtown. 2 months, I went to work in the morning, all ready to go, and the doors were chained. And my kids' things were up there. They were little bitty. I had special things in there. And so I walked upstairs to the folks who we leased from, and I begged the CFO, Tommy, can you please let me get my things out of there? And she said, yes, so long as we can have a conversation afterwards. She filled me in on the backstory, and I went home not knowing what to do. I was 2 months in Austin. I didn't really know anybody yet except the few people that I worked with. And I started to call my friends, the people that I'd been working with, and calling them saying, hey, this is what happened. What are the projects on your bench that you need help with? 6 months later, I had a consulting company.
Nice.
Yeah,
that's
pretty
awesome.
wild. So that's how I ended up being an entrepreneur, was the change.
And hadn't looked back since. So you got into consulting. So tell me a little bit about what your business is and what you're doing today.
Yeah, so initially it was all about solving problems, optimization, a lot of focus on translating technology so that the people who could use the technology could understand it. So sales and marketing and relationships, channel relationships. That lasted for about 17, 18 years.
Wow.
I then told my team, look, we need to have an online program. We don't do any projects unless I meet someone and discover an opportunity. So we need to create some scale here. They came back to me and they said, well, you're a personal branding expert. And I said, well, what are you talking about? I'm an engineer, right? I'm just an engineer. I went on this discovery to try and find a certification program so that I could feel comfortable saying that I knew what I was doing in the realm of personal branding, and found William Arruda. He's the Forbes columnist for personal branding. And I wrote the check and invested in that program. The woman who was my mentor in the process, she's actually the woman who wrote Personal Branding for Dummies. And I found myself in this community of experts, lovely support, and it allowed me to launch pad off the traditional personal branding for career change into creating my own world in the consulting realm.
That's such a great point that you make. Sometimes you've got to buy into the crowd of people you need to be playing with. Sometimes you have to upgrade the crowd of people that you're playing with. You can't step back and say, I'm just not going to spend the money. I can't afford it. Sometimes you've got to do that and make that investment in yourself to move to that next level.
Yeah, I think so. By going through the course, I got to the end of it and said, wow, I could have taught the course.
Yeah.
I guess maybe I do know what I'm doing. And that really allowed me to take the next step, which was, online website, new brand, webinars. Okay, here's a course. Let's see if somebody's interested in the course. And then people started to invest in that, and my entire practice shifted. Last year, we had just a few personal branding clients, most of it in the course. This last year, we're almost all the way to 50%. So I'm definitely making the migration.
Well,
and
but
happy
that's
for it.
scalability. I mean, that's how you can take that worldwide.
The real investment that allows us to grow is that they're investing in the expertise and not necessarily the doingness.
So what are some of the steps of that personal brand? How are you helping somebody establish that? Because you do it relatively quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have 3 modules. The first one's called Canvas Your Talent. So think of it like a box of Scrabble tiles. So we create all the tiles, what are all the pieces and components of their brand, and then how do we put those together, you know, what we call from the inside out, right? So the client gets to say, this is what I want to be. And then we do an anonymous survey out to their network. So 100 of their friends, colleagues, partners get to say, hey, this is what I think you are. And then connecting those dots, you know, that's stitching that together in a way that gives the growth that the client wants. But, you know, if they were a stay-at-home mom for 20 years and they're going back to being a rocket scientist, there's quite a chasm between that world and the technical world.
Certainly.
So how do you connect those dots? And that's really one of the fun things I get to do.
Cool. Very nice.
Yeah.
So what's exciting and new in your world? I know something big.
Yeah. So 2 things, actually. In December, we were awarded an award for the podcast that I started several years ago, saying that, hey, you're an internationally known best of branding podcast. So that's exciting. And William Arruda has publicly declared me as a personal branding influencer for consultants.
Nice.
And so I've got 2 hours in front of the international conference. I get to chat with career coaches and help them manage their clients through the gig economy, right? You know, sometimes you're working for an employer. Sometimes you're working as a consultant or a little side hustle. Sometimes you're doing all 3, right? So how do you manage your brand out in the world so people don't get confused or that you're, you know, showing up with 12 business cards, right?
So now we're going to step into the fast 5 questions.
All right, bring it on.
Bring it on. Now, you've done this once before in your world, but what would happen if you woke up in the morning, business is gone, $500 in your pocket, laptop, computer, place to live? What would you do first?
I love relationships. And so having lived my world in partnerships and having gone through not quite the $500 number, but gone through an instance where income disappeared, I called the people I knew and I asked them what they needed help with. I'm so conditioned to figure out what the problem is and to solve that problem. I would say that would be the thing that I would do.
Start talking to people.
Yeah.
That's the biggest key. Now, what's the biggest entrepreneurial mistake you've made?
In the first generation of my consulting business, I came up with an idea. We were solving a problem for a client and the market was nuts here for investment. And one guy wrote me a check for $5,000 and said, keep going. And then another person. And next thing I know, Austin Ventures was putting a couple $1 million into this idea. It was a big thing, you know. There weren't lots of women in being invested in. I didn't know how to be a CEO. This was, you know, but all of a sudden I had these people around me. Everybody believed in the idea. The future clients were writing, if you build this thing, we will buy it. I mean, it was just such a really sweet, straightforward software application. I allowed them, you know, so I'm taking ownership of that. I allowed them to put someone in as the CEO to that business who was a marketing guy. He had no business being the CEO of an operational business. That money would have completed our application and would have brought us, you know, to a whole nother level. So being smart about where you spend your money and be someone who is driving the bus of my company. I learned how to think about spending money differently, and I learned how to let go. You know, it's something that happened. I couldn't unravel it. It was what it was.
Suck it up, move on to the next.
And move on and learn from it.
Yeah. What's a good book that you recommend for an entrepreneur?
Usually read 3 kinds of books. I always have historical fiction because it's just fun. I usually read some kind of, call it a self-helpy thing, right? Just to stretch the philosophical thinking. Brene Brown's been on on my phone, really, a lot of Audible. She has a book called Dare to Lead.
Oh, nice.
And whether you're a solopreneur and leading your clients or leading your vendors, right, there's so much really good information in the book. So I would say that one. The other one is one I carry around when I present, actually. It's What Happens in Vegas Stays on YouTube. It's written by a guy named Eric Qualman. And it's like the 101 of how to express who you are online. And whether you're a CEO and you've always had somebody else do this for you, like some CEOs don't even send their own emails still, right? So it's just a great book.
That is awesome. What's a good tool that you use in your business every day?
My phone is probably the number one tool. I'm a tablet user. I have a Surface tablet. Love that.
The world's greatest computer. I love it.
And I'm a yellow pad fiend. I know that's 3.
That's okay.
But I don't go anywhere without those 3 things.
Those tools stay with you at all times, and they basically serve all purposes for you. It's awesome. How do people get a hold of you?
The best way is to reach out. LinkedIn is a good place. Just Grace Lanni. Yes. You can send me an email, grace at allabouthatbrand.com. The website, allabouthatbrand.com.
Makes it pretty simple.
Yeah, absolutely. If you search for me, my name is unique enough that I'll probably show up for you.
So Grace, thank you so much. It's just wonderful to hear about all the stuff that's going on with you and how well you're doing. Folks, underneath where we are right now, which is the subscription button is right under my feet right now. Make sure you subscribe to this channel, but a little bit deeper than that will be all of Grace's information and her book that she talked about today. So make sure that you are looking for that. And if you need help from somebody and you want to become a recognized expert in the world, this lady knows what she's talking about. Apparently so, because she is the most recognized branding expert for consultants. Buy her a cup of coffee, find out how you can work with her, and you will be amazed at what you can do. So thank you, Grace. I appreciate you coming today.
You bet.
And we'll see you guys back here next week.